One, two, three, and the place to be. I'm your host, Adam Mill. To the left of me is my co-host, because the governor in the middle, Quan Bizzle Pause, Jammer One. Hopefully, I said that right. And tie the men off the grid. Without further delay, we started later than usual. This is Guess I Said podcast. Leave a like, subscribe. Also, leave a comment and share, please. A lot helps. We see 4 more subscribers this week. It's not big numbers, but however, it's growth, and that's a good thing. So we're gonna do 3 reaction videos, and then we're gonna continue the bracket like it's March Madness, as far as the hip hop bracket. All right. So Quan, we're gonna do the first one with Pusha T and Quentin Miller, and this is by Mascot. So we just waiting on you.
Okay, got you.
Good thing we edited this stuff.
No, don't worry, it's gonna be edited.
If it was live. Well, I mean, sometimes when you do live stuff, man, that's
Word.
people like the rawness of it. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
You have an audience for that. How's everybody week so far, man?
Good.
That's good, man.
2 hours later.
Talk about it, then I'll put their video as.
Okay, here you go. This is once again, this is by Mascot, and this is Quentin Miller accused. Well, not accused. This is Quentin Miller sending reference tracks to Pusha T with your hooks. And there's a big uproar in the hip hop community saying that why is Pusha T working with Quentin Miller in the first place when he had said so many things about him and Drake working together, and why would someone like Pusha T would even want a reference track from someone like Quentin Miller or anybody? So I'm gonna play it.
Quentin Miller reference track number 1. Real gonna come out. That's great. That's great. That's great.
Yeah. The real gonna come out, the real gonna come out, the real gonna come out. Spirit of monster, the beast in me. Thoughts and all y'all for me, nigga. Text in the lobby, text in the lobby, text in the lobby. Squad in the lobby, squad at the bar, Andres in the lobby. These ain't hoop dreams, who don't want to
Ghostwriting. That's great. That's great. That's great.
Yeah. The real gonna come out, the real gonna come out, the real gonna come out. The spirit of Marshawn, the feast in me. Thoughts to know y'all from me, niggas. Sex in the lobby, sex in the lobby, sex in the lobby. Squad in the lobby, squad at the bar, pouring drinks on our body. These ain't hoop dreams, who don't want the
Quentin Miller reference track number 2. Bodmon.
Take your time to rewind this. Knew that I would be what I became when I grew up. It's a shame my mama raised it. Mixed feelings for a rich nigga when he can't fix what's in him. He just a. What you gonna do? What you gonna do when it comes? Watch checking time on my phone, sending shooters through an app, man. Damn, that's a bad. You can tell that you knew the money too much.
Ghostwriting.
Take your time to rewind this. Knew that I would be what I became when I grew up. It's a shame my mama raised it. Mixed feelings for a rich nigga. Money can't fix what's in him. He just a. What you going?
All right, I guess we got the gist of that.
And now you guys realize what I was saying when that whole Pusha T, the Clips album came out. Everybody was praising it. Oh, this and this and that and this and this and. Always read between the lines, man. Y'all favorite lyricists, y'all favorite artists sometimes, especially in the mainstream. Can't say too much about the underground, but even that, they be having people like Quentin Miller, man. So I'm just saying, it's no secret. This been happening since the 90s. This been happening since the 80s, actually. Since the origin of hip-hop. People have been ghostwriting since the origin of hip-hop. It wasn't as popularized and it wasn't as brought out into the surface. Like, if I'm not wrong, educate me because I don't want to speak out of ignorance. But wasn't Eric B was it like Rakim and Eric B? I think Rakim, he said Eric B had a ghost producer, or I think it was Rakim producing, and Eric B was kind of like the front man basically. They had that duo, but he wasn't the one really producing half of the songs for Rakim.
I gotta check that one out. That's new. That's new to me.
He was more of the front man. He was a guy that basically he looked good, doing a duo and everything. But Rakim was actually self-producing some of his beats.
I gotta check that one out, fellas. Y'all heard of something like that before?
I can believe part of that. Yeah. Huh?
I didn't know that Rakim was doing his beats. I didn't know that.
Yeah, that's new to me.
Right.
Yeah, I gotta check that one out. That's very interesting. Here's the thing. Not too long ago, someone offered I done a song with a young lady, and she said, "Well, let me write the hook." I didn't have an issue with it, to a degree. Now, one of the main reasons why I had an issue with it because I was like, well, maybe the hook would sound better this way and not just you saying it. But a small part of me was like, we have like a writer's pride. Like, I don't want you writing anything for me. You get what I'm saying? But at the same time, I'm conflicted with it because at the same time, if you're making the best project possible, you can, you're making the best project that the project can be at its full potential. You want all hands on deck, all creators on deck. You want to make the best project presentable. You get what I'm saying? And sometimes that recipe takes more than one cook in the kitchen. When you go to these restaurants and you eat, these delicious meals and stuff, and you say compliments to the chef, but the chef back there had the sous chef, he had the prep cook, he had everybody putting hands into that recipe, the food. It wasn't just the chef, although the chef gets most of the bulk of the credit. However, it took a lot of people on hands to, present that food. You understand what I'm saying? So that's the way I look at it. And this is the industry. It's different standards if you're working as an underground artist or independent, right? Whether you're dealing with someone where it's money involved and it's, they expect a certain level of expectations from your projects and your album coming out. They expect a certain expectation because now there's money involved. Numbers got to come back. So they want the best product that you can present. And doing so, most of our classics that we love so much have so many hands on deck and hands in the pot. Back in the day when we were coming up, we purchased an album from the store, and the first, we used to enjoy the names of the songs and who co-produced, who produced, who wrote, who co-wrote, who came up with the hook. All that stuff was, presented on the tapes. Now that we have these platforms with Spotify and stuff, you don't get the pleasure of seeing that, right? So part of that, I'm like, I ain't tripping off of it. We're trying to, they're trying to make the best song or product possible, all hands on deck. However, my thing is with guys like Pusha T, although this is not, from my opinion, considered ghostwriting, and someone, send a reference track with a hook. Don't come at the guys like Drake and, dismantle his credibility as a lyricist and say, you needed this guy to help you, or you use references to Quentin Miller, talking about, I forgot the line he used. Like, it's a famous line he used when he's going back and forth with Drake. He's like, is it Quentin or is it Drake? And I'm just paraphrasing it, right? Pardon me for not being sharp.
Wait, I got a question though. Wait, so why don't you consider that ghostwriting? Because we can't keep moving the goalposts. I don't care if it was a chorus. if you're using, there's a difference between having your homeboys or he had his brother helping him out on the chorus. You know what I mean? Or it was like, they were joking around in studio having a little cipher. You use the same man that Drake used for his songs, chorus or not. Let's not push the goalpost because it's Pusha T, and we don't want to point the finger at him now and make him look bad. No, he used a ghostwriter. Let's make it plain as day.
How does that if it's only the hook, right? The hook's the most commercial part of a record. You know what I mean? Like that's the most commercial part. So when it comes to that part, it's not like he writing his verses. That's one thing, because when you telling your story in your verses most times, you know what I mean? Sometimes, like you said earlier, your mans and everybody else in the room, you can come up with a hook together. You know what I mean? So are you going to say that that's ghost written? If say somebody else came up with your hook?
The thing for me, and I see what you're getting at, but the thing for me is that this is a service 9 out of 10 Pusher probably paid Quentin for, and the difference between Pusha T's brother or just one of his homeboys being in studio, that's just like someone came with an idea for a bar, or they came with a word, or they came with a metaphor. Okay, cool. You know what I mean? But you're paying someone a service to come up with an idea, commercial or not, for a hit, but then you're pointing at anybody, regardless. You're pointing at Drake because, be honest, the reason why Drake had a lot of flat because he was really the main one that came out with a ghostwriter. He was the main one. Everyone was like, "Yo, he's using a ghostwriter. He's one of the biggest artists in the world. Look at him using a ghostwriter." But when someone like Pusha T does it, or someone below that status does it, is not really a thing that's looked at. It's not really taken seriously because even with Nas, right? If Nas paid Quentin Miller to do his choruses and stuff, even for a hit record, people will look at Nas a little bit weird, like, "Oh, you buying, choruses from Quentin Miller now?" You know what I mean? And it's like, I get your example, but it's kind of what Adam Mill was saying. I don't want to see Pusha T getting on anybody, getting on Drake for using Quentin Miller when you're paying for that man's service. Even for a chorus, you're paying for his service to get a hit record. You're paying for that man's service. That man got a bag off of that. And then at least be a man about it and be like, "Yo, I did the same thing, or at least I did it for a chorus." But you coming out like you never used a ghostwriter or you never used any type of help whatsoever. You know what I mean? I'm pretty sure he would be honest and straightforward when it came to his homeboys or just came to someone else. Artists do it all the time. But he knew better not to come out saying, "Hey, Quentin Miller, did a chorus for my song, by the way." It wasn't just verses. He just did a chorus for my song. He knows better because people have been pointing the fingers at him. So I don't really give him no slack, no leave for it, because if it was something that it wasn't a big deal, you would have told everybody. You would have let everybody know, "Hey, Quentin Miller did a chorus for me." But it's something clearly he wants to hide. Clearly it was taken from his drive. Someone hacked him.
Yeah,
He's
yeah,
exposed for it.
I just think that what make Pusha look bad is that the internet is undefeated. Whatever you do online or whatever someone know about you now could be exposed, right? So I don't think he expected this to come out. And if it did, in back of Pusha mind, he's like, y'all should have enough intelligence in the culture to know the difference between a ghostwriter and someone that's doing the hook for you, right? Again, but what makes Pusha to me look kind of, hypocritical is like, you use this man, Quentin Miller name in the beef going back and forth between you and Drake. However, you're running back to the same guy that, you're saying like, how dare you use anybody? We supposed to be writers. So I think that's what makes it look a little bit bad on Pusha's end. Because like Quan said, I agree with both sides. Like Quan said, you use this man as a tool to push your ideologies is why you should use your pen and have, we writers, right? So you should respect your pen, but then you turn around and use them yourself. So it just seems hypocritical on Pusha's behalf, And real quick, and I'm gonna let Jam cook. I don't know where Ty, but I'm gonna let Jam cook. Um, what I found, what I'm saying, so disturbing with me is how fake the industry is. He's good enough for you to receive a reference track from. Quentin Miller is, Pusha, I'm talking about Pusha now. But you don't put him on your albums. You don't work with him on a major scale, like a feature or whatever the case may be. But he's good enough for you to have a reference track. It's almost like going out with an ugly chick. You're good enough for me to creep around with you at nighttime and, send me money to my Cash App, but I can't bring you around my family. You get what I'm saying? And that's what makes the industry so phony to me. You get what I'm saying? Because he is the punching, Quentin Miller is unfortunately, because he's very talented, but he's the punching bag of, these allegations and, ghostwriting allegations and stuff. But he's good enough for you to work with behind closed doors, but he's not good enough for you to put him for you to put him on an album or project. That's fake. I don't like that. I don't like that.
Well, show business. It's show business.
No. We're only gonna give you what we can show you. That's why it's show business.
Hey man, but it's fair enough. But this doesn't take away personally all all this aside, this doesn't take away from the greatness of Pusha T and his bars in the past and him and the projects he had with the clips. But for me, I don't feel the same listening to his music. It's hypocritical to me. Know what I mean? It is. I don't feel the same. Because we would, if this was Kendrick, we would be looking at Kendrick like better.
Well,
Kendrick, don't you better? If Kendrick came out and Quentin Miller had reference tracks for Kendrick, we'd be like, better. You know better. As much you were saying in King Kunta, as much you were saying and like Martin Disses and everything about Drake Ghostwriter, you better not.
Yeah, but Kendrick did have allegations. I don't know if y'all remember, like around 2019 or something like that. He had allegations of stealing from somebody from what's that app that people put their music on? I can't think of it right now. SoundCloud, thank you. He had allegations of stealing somebody's song from SoundCloud. And they went to court for it, him and Top Dog. So yeah. Jam, you want to expound on this or we good?
I mean, I think y'all pretty much touched on everything that I would have said. I just want to say that Quentin Miller, he's more of a behind the scenes type person. So I'm not sure if he wanted to be featured. I'm pretty sure if he wanted to be featured, maybe he could have, or at the same time, with it being Pusha T, it might not have been a good look. It might just look crazy. So he just stayed in the ghostwriting department. And that's what he's known for. You know what I mean? He's known for writing for people. So who's to say that he want to get credit for for his writing? He probably just happy getting the bag or whatever and remaining silent.
Yeah, it's just sad when somebody like Quentin come out with an album is looked underneath the radar. But
yeah, it's always like that with people who write behind the scenes. I was listening to this podcast earlier with the guy Simba, Mickey Fax, and I forget the other guy's name. But they were talking about how they wrote for people, but when they do their own stuff, it's often overlooked, and it makes them kind of mad. But I could understand that. Like, man, when it comes to music and popularity, it's really all about the artist's name. That's what it's about. It's not about how good a person is. It's about their name, the name that's on it. Quentin Miller got great music. I listen to it, but since he wrote so much ill stuff for Drake, it kind of he kind of sounds like Drake. You know what I mean? And it's sad
Yeah,
because
it is.
he wrote for Drake. Drake actually sound like him, but since Drake is the popular one, it makes him sound like Drake. So that's the dilemma of being a ghostwriter. That's what you get.
Right. And
And go,
and
go, go.
it's part of the whole music industry anyway. Every other genre has other writers. Like most of the time, the singers are not the ones that wrote the songs. Most of the time, it's rare
Yeah,
for you to get singer songwriters, except for in hip hop though. This is a totally different genre. You know what I
it's,
mean?
it's different in hip hop because you got people who's known for writing classics, Gamble and Hutch,
Yeah.
Ashford and Simpson.
Yep.
When they come out and do their own music, it still they still have a unique quality. And when they wrote for other people, you didn't know that they wrote those songs unless it was announced. Like, yeah, this song was written by Ashford and Simpson. You know what I'm saying? But it's weird because the thing is like we don't really see credits anymore, and it probably wouldn't be so much of a big issue if people got the credit for writing the songs. I think
I think the issue stems from when rappers say that they're the best, bar for bar, and it's like a forbidding thing to have a ghostwriter. It's culturally, like they say, no snitching, and hip hop is no ghostwriting. So for someone to say, well, we rate these people and their projects, what we're going to do later on tonight, the last thing come to our mind is, like I said, the people who's behind the ingredients, who helped the cook prepare the meal. We are looking at the finished product, which is the MC. You know what I'm saying? So we don't care about, um, who was behind, Cuban links and who helped wrote what. Only thing come to our mind was Raekwon came out with a dope album and he killed it. I don't know if y'all can hear my cat. Stop, man.
I think we're in a new age now, man. We're in a new age where I think it's not such a bad idea to give people credit for writing certain songs. But if you're from a certain era, that's kind of like a no-no. You have to write your own lyrics. You have to.
I would add one thing is that I think what makes hip hop unique is that it's hip hop is about authenticity. So it's about, people want to hear, like when people listen to hip hop, they're evaluating it based off of the authenticity of the story, like your struggle, your neighborhood, your trauma, and so on and so forth. So having a ghostwriter effectively just just disables that. Like it's basically you're a fraud. You know what I mean? If somebody finds out that you have a ghostwriter, I know sometimes it is about like competition, but sometimes this is also like to have a ghostwriter is to say someone's a fraud. Everything that they put, like the Quentin Miller and Drake, when you hear Drake, you don't necessarily you don't know if it's Quentin Miller or Drake now, and that's a big dilemma in and of itself. You know what I mean? So, and it's a big thing for a genre that sells authenticity. You know what I mean? But I don't think like all ghostwriting is bad because sometimes some of the best collaboration or some of the best art happens from collaboration. You know what I mean? And sometimes it's best to get the person with the best words to the best voice to the best words to the person with the best delivery and performance and brand and so on and so forth. And if the ghostwriters are getting paid, which Quentin Miller, I'm sure gets paid, it doesn't matter if he's in the forefront because he knows if he was in the forefront, people are not showing up for Quentin Miller. They're showing up for Drake and he probably wouldn't make the same money if he put himself as the forefront. With Pusha T, the main issue for him is that he clowns other people for having ghostwriters, and he claims that he's authentic and real, and so on and so forth. So when you have a situation like this, it's like, oh, I don't know. And in other genres, it doesn't matter. You know what I mean? Like they're not so hardcore with, yo, is this are you representing your authentic experience?
Yeah, I'm about to say that because in R&B, or pop music, when we listen to the great late Michael Jackson, we don't think about people behind the scenes like Quincy Jones and stuff like that. And then Quincy Jones was to go out and sing something like Thriller or I'm Bad or whatever, just to make an example, we won't get the same effect because, like Jam alluded to, and I think Gov came in show business. This is a brand. You get what I'm saying? I can go out there and say the same lyrics that Nas and Biggie say and it won't have the same impact. You know, you ever been to karaoke? Prime example. I know that shit. I know that shit, yeah.
What I call it?
The volcano from out of Iceland. They come to take over the rap game like the white man. Hiller than Hitler, photobomb at Yahoo, read it bomb missile. Watch me do it like the Pointer Sisters. Slip arsenic in your corn liquor. Two bigger L's than that Aubrey nigga. From Pappy Mason to Pastor Mason, the church is vacant. Preacher with Bobby, trapped in the basement. I'm laughing, just imagine the Sleepy Beauty had herpes.